Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags and Metal Reviews, and today you're getting our final review of Amen by Igorrr. So we spent a whole week listening to this album, and this is our second time reviewing an Igorrr album on this channel.
Yep.
And we've said this many times, and you guys already know that Igorrr is a very odd kind of artist.
Yeah.
He's kind of out there. He's a bit of an acquired taste. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. And it's kind of, to me, it feels like they throw a bunch of ideas into a hat, and then whatever they pick out, they implement into the music. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that they do. So we did our first impressions last week, and my first impressions was quite favorable for this album. I actually gave it a quite favorable first impression score as far as my standards go. I'll even tell you, I got a 7, right? And it's rated out of a 10, and a 7 for me on first impressions is quite high.
That is quite high.
I rarely give albums a score like that. And that score is based on a factor of how much do I want to listen to this again.
Yeah.
Right? So a 7's quite high for me. So as I'm listening to the album through the week, I'm noticing that the singles, at least a couple of them, were standing out the most. Headbutt, Last Beat Falafel, those songs were top tier songs and remain top tier songs for me by the end of the week. I just really like the composition of the songs. I love things like in Headbutt, where you have this contrast of blast beats and neoclassical piano playing with each other, and it's just done so well. Really love how that just is presented. The opening track, Demoni, I'm not sure. That song probably jumped to the top for me. Opening track, really love how this album opens. I love how there's pulsating beats and weird ominous noises creating creepy atmospheres, but then you have this gritty voice that comes in. You have these electronic effects that are almost make this like dubstep metal in a sense, if you can call it that. I just really like this song. This is the song that went into my playlist as far as this album goes. And in addition to that, I'm gonna jump to track number 8, Infestus. This is a song, I would say there's 2 songs when I'm listening to this album that really jumped out at me as I was listening to it. Number 1 was Demoni, number 2 is Infestus. Infestus has this lower tempo, almost beat down type of shuffle to it. Really like that. It's again, it's one of only 2 songs that really jumped out at me when I was listening to the album. Love the vocals on the song. I love how evil it sounds. There's a bit of a choir type vocal in there as well that just adds to this haunting feel to the song. Just really well put together. It felt very Karak Angren to me, that song. If you think of Pitch Black Box, it's probably the best example. Even rhythmically, It has a very similar cadence to that. But despite those highlights, and despite my favorable first impression, I felt this album was slipping on me quite a bit through the week. And I felt like songs like ADHD, which we reacted to and had, I would say positive reaction to it. It's a weird song. It does a lot of weird, crazy things as it's intended to, but I felt like throughout the week that just became a bit of a chore to listen to, and I found myself skipping it a lot because it just doesn't really feel like a song. It feels like there's stuff happening and it's interesting, but it doesn't feel like a song, like musically adept. And then the song right after that, 2020, it's more of the same. It's 12 seconds of just chaos.
Just blah.
It's the drums. I like the drums. It's chaotic, awesome drumming for like 12 seconds with some screaming and stuff, but I feel like it doesn't really serve a purpose and it feels out of place. So those 2 songs, especially right in the middle of the album, back to back, I feel like that kind of hurts it. ADHD could have been fine maybe if it was shorter and then maybe just take out 2020 or something along those lines, do an adjustment there. Continuing off with stuff that just didn't really do it for me, there's a few tracks on here that just I could not get into despite how much I tried. Track number 9, Ancient Sun. Track number 10, 11, and 12, all 3 of those were kind of just whatever. Track number 12, the last track, was probably the only one out of those that had a bit of saving grace. I like the fact that it's really calm for the first 2 minutes or so. It's basically a classical song, and then it just gets highly aggressive with some dubstep type sounds coming back again, which is again piggybacking off the intro track, which I thought that was cool to have that kind of bookend, that style there. And it's cool because similar to track number 2 where they have the piano and the blast beats playing, this song has dubstep sounds with the piano playing undisturbed. And I just like how he really plays around with that, like 2 different genres married together without any real hiccups. And you could say, I guess, they're complementing each other. It just seems like 2 things that shouldn't go together are going together, and he's really good at doing that.
Yes.
And you got to commend that stuff. So it was an interesting week for me because I listened to this album a lot. It played, I rotated it quite a few times, and there's just a bunch of stuff I really like and a bunch of stuff that kind of just didn't do it for me or disappointed me even. So I'm not sure. Where are you standing?
Well, if I'm going to piggyback off of your comments on Silence, I think it is a nice song. And I think it's a cool way to close the album. My issue, though, is that it sounds a lot like another Igorrr song that I've already seen done. There's a song on Savage Sinusoid called Problème d'émotion, which does basically the same thing. It's this sad opera, and then you hear the Igorrr electronic stuff that comes in, the same effects. That was one of the issues I had. A lot of the electronic effects that I heard on this album, I'm like, I've heard him use these exact ones on other albums. And you see the music videos where he's got a whole ass wall set up. You think he could generate another sound out of that? Because that was my issue. I'm like, I've heard this before. I've heard that already. Silence is a cool song, but it sounds a lot like another Igorrr song. Or something like, what's another one? Well, actually, to contrast a little bit, a song like Mustard Mucus, which is my top song of the week. Love that song. Not to say it sounds like a copy of Parpang, but it's a similar vibe. You have a feature on it. It's a lot harder hitting of a song, and it has a little bit of a goofy gimmick in it, and it's different. With Parpang, it does the whole bit crush thing. With this one, it has the flute coming in randomly with the syncopated
It's a kazoo. It's a kazoo and a recorder.
It's a kazoo and a recorder together?
I hear recorder and kazoo. I could be wrong. I mean, that's when I'm listening to it. I was like, that's a kazoo. And then another part I heard a recorder. I go, that's a recorder. Like, 2.
Either way, that adds to it, makes it kind of goofy and funny, but it's still a great song. Love that a lot. But I did find myself kind of listening to these songs and thinking, well, this is kind of just like that one. A song like ADHD, I actually don't really mind that much, but it sticks out a little too hard. And we commented last week on how accessible this album is, and I still believe that. It is accessible. If I were to show someone Igorrr for the first time and I know how much of an acquired taste this artist as an entirety is, I'd probably give them this album as an easier way to get into the Igorrr sound. I feel like it's a good introduction to the sound, but I did kind of find some songs would blend together a bit. I want to say you mentioned last week that there was a lot more operatic stuff on this record than others. I agree, and I think that's a bit to a fault because things start to blend together. You mentioned that about the last few tracks. I kind of agree. They kind of all mesh a little bit, and I feel like it started to take me out of it because I got to a point where I would just forget which song was which until I was at Silence. Like Etude and 120 Degrees or however you want to pronounce that song, it feels like it just blends into the tracks that it's between. It's kind of cool that it's got like an acoustic focus on it as an interlude, but it just kind of feels like it meshes a little too much, and I wasn't really huge on that.
Sometimes that's a good thing, though, when you have an interlude that actually does blend 2 tracks together to the point where you don't even notice. It almost is doing its job too perfectly.
Yes, but I think the issue is that what surrounds it is just too similar to it already.
That's true.
Yeah, I think
I don't disagree with that at all. Which is why those last 3 songs kind of just all in the same pocket for me.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're all the same.
Like, it's good when an interlude is able to do that, but I think it's more effective when an interlude is able to go through 2 contrasting songs and thread them perfectly.
Yeah.
Which we've seen before. So, a song like Pure Disproportionate Black and White Nihilism is pretty cool as like a slow burn song when it kicks in, but the first half of that song is the same slower operatic stuff that surrounds it already, which is already an issue. Yeah. But in my opinion, an issue on top of that is that Infestus is kind of a similar track overall. The slower beater. Why are they so close to each other on the track listing? I feel like you could probably shuffle the tracks a little bit and make it a little bit better in terms of the placement, because it kind of feels like the second half just kind of goes to a place and stops. You got a bit of a wavering, kind of contrast or whatever, and then it kind of goes to this spot and just stays there for the rest of the record.
Where do you think it stops and stays there? Because to me, Infestus stands out. Like, wherever it is on the album, it's track number 8. sticks out like a thumb to me.
I think Infestus is where it starts going there, but after that, they're there. You know what I mean? It's like you're going somewhere,
Maybe,
then
yeah.
there's Infestus, and then after that, we are now in this place that we are staying for the rest of the album,
Got you.
which I wasn't huge about. So, and that's what I felt like after Mustard and Mucus, my mind was just kind of tuning out of the record.
Yeah, you're right, because like you got Mustard, Mucus, Blasphemy, Falafel, Headbutt, and Demone are all heavy hitters on this album. They're all, obviously before Infestus, so I see what you're saying.
Another song I wanted to mention is Limbo. To me, that one feels like a sequel to You'd, but like too close. You know what I mean? Like, there's even a part where the opera singer does this screech, like shriek. We heard that on You'd already. The same kind of thing.
Yeah, I know the one is at the 2:45 mark, and it sounds like a woman screaming as well. I'm not sure if it is or.
I figured it was.
Okay, yeah.
Either way, like that moment is a moment that I feel like I had already heard, which we kind of had. One of our earliest reactions even to that song, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like the wheels were kind of spinning on this album, but I feel like the band of this artist or entity, however you want to really kind of consider Igorrr, because it's mainly the one guy.
I would just say artist, yeah.
The band is really good, really tight, and when you really kind of let them go, they're great. And they shine on this album in that way because it's overall a lot more straightforward. I just feel like the direction kind of went a specific way, focused on something, and then kind of rehashed some stuff that I feel like I've already heard. And for an artist as creative as this, I kind of expected something more different than what I've heard in the past. So I was kind of losing some retention there, but there were still some cool songs, cool moments. Mustard Mucus is a sick song. Every time that came on, I loved it. Like, that went into my playlist.
Yeah, Mustard Mucus for me, I thought was really great at the beginning of the week, but it started to slip on me. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know. It just didn't stick the landing for me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of my mid-tier songs.
Okay.
So,
Well, shall we rate this album?
sure, you can go first.
All right, so I really love Igorr's creativity overall. This is an avant-garde metal band. You really don't see those in general often, especially one as popular as this.
Yeah.
And there is cool creativity on here. For me personally, I feel like it got a little bit repetitive in terms of its own direction, but also based on previous Igorrr albums I've heard. That being said, I would definitely recommend this for someone who's kind of not into this kind of thing to get into this artist.
Sure.
But it didn't really get that much retention from me. There was times where I was just kind of like, on it. So there was good stuff. Didn't grip me as much. It landed at a 5.
That's very well said. I agree. It didn't get that much retention from me either, and I do also agree that there's a lot of good stuff in here. And, Igorrr as an artist does a lot of cool things. Like we mentioned, throwing things like kazoo and recorder in there, whether that was an accurate comment or not. It's still, it is commendable that there's stuff like that in there. There's also all kinds of there's Arabic instruments in there, like a qanun or whatever it might be, which just diversifies the sound. It really makes it interesting to listen to because there's so much stuff going on, and it kind of makes you go, what's that? What's that? What's that? And you ask a lot of questions while you're listening to it.
Yeah.
And I think there's an audience for that type of stuff. But for me, this is one of those situations where half the album sticks the landing and the other half is kind of just like I could really do without it. So I'm going to match TV Fish's score. I'm going to give it a 5 as well. And that's a bit unfortunate because, like I said, our first impressions were quite high, and I really had high hopes for this, and it just didn't. It didn't deliver after listening to it as much as we did. So
Yeah, and that's why we do what we do.
yeah, we've run albums through the gauntlet, basically, listen to them as much as we can, because that tells you whether an album has good staying power or if it has the fatigue factor. And I wouldn't say I really got tired of this, but it's more that I just wasn't impressed by it. It was kind of just running by the wayside and doing what it did. Anyways, that's it for this review. So leave your thoughts down below and let us know what you guys think of Amen after listening to it for a whole week. And leave your thoughts down below about what your favorite songs are and your opinions on Igorrr in general as an artist. Whatever you want to say, sound off down below. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'm Vile Self,
I'm TV Fish.
and we'll see you guys in the next one.